I'm just going to read the emergency evacuation announcement. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm goes off, please leave the building in an orderly fashion through the nearest fire exit. Please either use the fire exit through the main doors of the hall or the fire exit to the storeroom adjacent to the stage. The fire assembly point is at the island in front of the main entrance to the building. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings. Please do not return to the building until given permission to do so by council staff. Please note that the meeting will be audio recorded. Please switch off mobiles or turn them to silent. Please note that the toilet and hand washing facilities are in the foyer area. Now, please be upstanding members to receive the Chairman, Reverend Nick Rowan, and the Chief Executive.
Good evening, members. Members, can I call upon Reverend Nick Rowan for the prayers? Thank you.
A verse from this evening's reading from John's Gospel, Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Jesus said, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." Father God, as we gather this evening on the day of the appointment of a new Prime Minister and new government, we pray you would strengthen, grant wisdom and give a heart of service to all who take on these new roles. With a background of financial uncertainty, cost of living challenges and war in Ukraine, we pray for peace of mind and the well-being for all citizens of this district. And Almighty God, from whom comes every good and perfect gift, we pray that this meeting will be conducted in a spirit of justice and truth, wisdom and charity. We pray that, mindful of their responsibility and the needs of those they serve, each councillor and officer may use their influence in this meeting to promote the well-being of our community. Help them to seek the way of love and peace, and seek above all else to serve others. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Nick. You are, of course, welcome to stay, but I do understand if you need to disappear, please feel free to do.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Members, please be seated. Members, just before we start, a couple of things I'd like to just mention. Members, we're also joined this evening by Emily Yule and Steve Summers, our strategic directors, and Dan Goodman, our strategic planner. All here somewhere on the top table, I think. Members of the public, whilst you are of course entitled to film and take photographs during this meeting, can I emphasise to you that this should be done without disruption to the meeting and only be done from the designated area in public seating. Can I please therefore ask you to raise your hand clearly if you wish to film and take photographs. Thank you very much. Members, just a few points to remind you. When I invite you to speak, please wait until the microphone is in front of you before speaking, as the microphones are needed for the hearing loop. and for the audio recording. Can I also mention to members that when you stand and you hold the papers, make sure you're not covering the microphone. It does block the sound. These are all switched on and ready for you to speak, so you do not need to adjust them. Make sure that the microphone is directly in front of you before speaking. Members, voting will be done on a show of hands in line with the Constitution, and I will ask for a show of hands for, then against recommendations, and then for abstentions. Given the size of this room and the number of us present, can I please ask that you put your hand up clearly, like you used to do at school, high in the air, so that you can be easily seen, and leave it up until I ask you to lower it. The normal rules of debate apply. No member should speak for longer than 5 minutes. And can I please ask you not to repeat anything previously said? All those indicating to speak will be given an opportunity to speak once. Item 1, apologies. I have 2, Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Hoy. Are there any others? Okay, Bill. Agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of July 2022. Members, are you happy for me to sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of July? Is that agreed, members?
Agreed.
Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Can I remind members, if something comes up during the course of the meeting, please indicate clearly and we will record your declaration at that point. Members, agenda item 4, announcements from the Chairman, Leader and Head of Paid Services. Members, I'd like you, if you would, just to bear with me for a few minutes, as I have a couple of things I'd like to mention. Since our last meeting in July, so much has happened and changed, and this is a momentous time for the country. Since we last met, we've had 3 Prime Ministers, 4 Chancellors, and maybe another one to come, and so many changes to the Cabinet, I've lost track. And who knows what the next few months will bring. However, the very sad loss of our sovereign, Queen Elizabeth II, and a new king, King Charles III, is uppermost in our minds. I feel honoured and privileged to have read out the proclamation for our new king in the Rochford Market Square and to attend the memorial service of Queen Elizabeth at St Andrew's, Rochford, along with many members, visiting mayors and chairmen. I, for one, was still trying to get the words right for the national anthem. As I'm sure you know, putting together everything to enact Operation London was not an easy task, and was also done at very short notice. I would like to say a few words to those who went above and beyond the call of duty in organising everything. It's Holly, Sonia, Veronica, all worked on the civic side of things, making the arrangements. Anna dealt with the comms, Jim for setting up the road closure, Valerie for doing all of the printing, and of course Colin, our civic chauffeur and support officer, who was responsible for making sure that I was in the right place at the right time. Indeed, one day we were actually attended 4 church services throughout the whole of South Essex. It all started when Holly contacted me on the day that news started to come out, and I was sitting in my office at home thinking, oh, I'm right up to date with all my emails, I'm going to have a quiet weekend. That's my first mistake. The officers worked behind the scenes getting everything organised, but what you may not know is how long and how much work it takes. I know how much time the team had to spend putting it in and I know how much time the team had to put in, and some were starting as early as 6:30 in the morning and still answering emails at 10 o'clock at night. I'd like to give them my personal thanks, and I'm sure that you will agree with me, we have some outstanding officers. I would like to make a small presentation to the officers. Holly, who sadly can't be here this evening, she's not too well, and Sonia, who is here this evening, and the other officers who have been unable to attend will have a surprise tomorrow morning. I have asked, if I may stand, I've asked Councillor Butcher if she would be very kindly accept the presentation on behalf of Holly, and she'll make sure she gets it delivered tomorrow. Sadly, Colin is leaving us tomorrow, so I'd like to thank him, and I'm sure that other past chairmen will join me in thanking him for making sure we were always on time. Thank you, Colin. I feel Rochford has much to offer, and I have visited voluntary organisations in business and businesses to lend my support and raise awareness for the wonderful facilities available in our district. I was privileged to wave off our ambitious colleagues from both Brentwood and Rochford embarking on the Three Peaks Challenge, a 26-mile and 5,200-foot ascent. I would ask you to join me in celebrating their impressive fundraising and formidable effort of over £11,000 for Cardiomyotherapy UK, Parkinson's UK, Hopefield Animal Sanctuary and St Francis Hospice, along with my own chosen charities, Achievement Through Football and Trust Links. A lot of hard work and training went into this grueling challenge, and I want to thank all of the staff that supported our charities. It is much appreciated. Members, thank you for indulging me. Councillor Wootton, do you have any announcements as leader?
No, thank you, Chairman.
And can I ask Mr Stevenson if you have any announcements?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, agenda item 5. To note the minutes of the executive and committee meetings held between the period 14th of July to the 14th of October 2022. Members, are these noted?
Noted, Chairman.
Thank you. Agenda item 6. Business from the last council meeting. Members, does anyone have any questions relating to the business from the last council meeting held on the 26th of July?
No one's indicating, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 7, report on urgent decisions. There are none. Agenda item 8, statement of community involvement, 2022 update. The report will be introduced by the Chairman of the Planning Policy Committee, Councillor Foster. Can I remind members to stand?
Apologies, Chairman. Item 8 before you relates to an update to the Council's statement of community involvement.
Councillor Foster, sorry to interrupt you. Can you move the microphone a little closer? It is difficult to hear you.
Is that better?
That's better.
Right, I'll start again. Item 8 before you relates to an update to the Council's statement of community involvement. The Statement of Community Involvement is a statutory document that sets out the ways in which the Council will engage the public and other stakeholders in the planning process, including planning policy, development management and development enforcement. There is a requirement in law to review the Statement of Community Involvement at least every 5 years. As a previous version was adopted by the Council in 2016, a review took place in 2021. That was at the Planning Policy Committee meeting of the 23rd of June 21. The outcome of this review was the subject of an 8-week consultation exercise in autumn 2021. The review and subsequent consultation identifies a range of minor changes that were required to keep the document relevant and accurate, as well as some additional wording to provide clarity in some cases. Details of the consultation process and suggested changes are set out in a feedback report at Appendix A to this item. The revised document was considered by the Planning Policy Committee on the 30th of August this year, where the committee resolved unanimously to recommend the full council that the document be adopted, subject to further minor change, specifically to replace the word informal with the word formal. I'll briefly explain the changes as by way of introduction. The biggest area of changes relates to coronavirus and potential impact on community engagement events in the future, obviously covering any serious outbreaks of coronavirus. The report includes updates to methods of communication and methods of providing feedback. For example, updating email addresses. Rochford Council email addresses were out of date. Removing faxes as an option of communication. Removing Twitter as an option of communication. And removing Rochford District Matters as the key communication route for engagement in the community involvement. Doesn't mean that can't be used as well if there's a future decision, but it removes as a major method. So that was replaced with online news. In the older version of the statement, it refers to plans being available to view at Rayleigh and Rochford. Rayleigh is now removed as an option from the report. There are some corrections to grammar. There are some updates in engagement opportunities reflecting government regulations, and they are 18, 19, 22, 23, 24, 25 and 26, all mentioned in the report, on how to engage in relation to local plan development. And finally, there are some changes to pre-application rules, which are on page 8.48. So that's a brief summary of some of the changes. As I said, it was accepted unanimously at the Planning Policy Committee meeting on the 30th of August. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Belton.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one point to make on page 8.48, paragraph 3.3, in regards to pre-application. At the moment, it says pre-application advice is available for all types of developments, excluding householder applications and applications for small-scale developments. I see this as a false economy. Removing that service to our residents, it will enable a sleeker process throughout, so if they can ask the questions up front. And I would like to propose a small amendment that we change the word excluding to including, so that we can offer a good customer service to our residents.
Okay. Do you have a seconder for that proposition?
Councillor Ian Ward's got his hand up.
Okay. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. I would definitely like to second that. I think we do need to improve our services, and I would like that looked into. Thank you.
Okay, members, we're obviously now just debating this amendment. I've got Councillor Mrs Mason wishes to speak.
Yes, thank you. I'm pleased that Councillor Belton pointed that out, because I was also going to raise it. I note that we have been unfortunately excluding, or Rochford District Council, I should say, has been unfortunately excluding residents from pre-application service, and this is wrong. Yet major developers are able to have access to the service. So I certainly support the amendment, but I would like to ask for further clarification. Probably less important now that we're including, I take it we're including not just householder but also small-scale developments, so that inclusivity is quite correct. We should be doing that, and we should have been doing it all along. But the question I was going to ask, which is probably academic now, was how did we define major? But if we're including all developments, I don't think I need to ask the officer to explain that. Thank you. And I certainly support the motion.
Okay. Any other members wish to speak on this? Okay. Councillor Mrs Belton, would you just like to repeat your proposal?
Thank you, Chair. Page 8.48, paragraph 3.3, change the word excluding to including.
Members, can I have a show of hands on that? Everybody in for? Members, thank you. That is unanimous. That now becomes part of the substantive motion. Members, is there anybody who wishes to speak on the motion, on the presentation? No? No indications. Okay. Members, there's two items on this paper. Item 1, that the contents of the Statement of Community Involvement Feedback Report at Appendix A be noted, Is that noted, members?
Noted, Chairman.
That the statement of community involvement at Appendix B be adopted. Members, I need a show of hands on this. Those in favour? Okay, thank you, members. Those against? And abstentions? Members, that is 36 for and 1 abstention. Bear with us a second, members. What is the third? I thought that became part of the substantive motion.
It is, but you've only voted on one, so we're voting then to
Okay, right, I'll let you read that out if you would. Okay. Members, we do need to take a third vote. Legal officer will explain.
Thank you, Chair. As members have voted, there is now a new third recommendation. That recommendation is that in paragraph 3.3 in Appendix B, the word is to change the word from excluding to including. So the new sentence will read, pre-application advice is available for all types of development, including householder applications and applications for small-scale development such as one house. Thank you, Chair.
Members, you've heard that. Does anybody wish to speak to it?
No, you don't need to speak.
No, okay, no, you can't now anyway. Those in favour? Unanimous. Members, that's unanimous. Okay, members, moving on. Agenda item 9, report of the leader on the work of the executive. Is that noted, members?
Noted, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 10, public questions and member questions on notice. Members, we have no public questions, but there are a number of member questions on notice, which we will go through in turn. Councillor Mrs Gooding, can I invite you to read out your question to the portfolio holder for housing, assets and leisure, please?
Good evening, Chairman. I'm often approached by residents and disability groups regarding the facilities and the equipment at Clements Hall Leisure Centre. In particular, the swimming pool and wetside facilities, which are in need of upgrading to enable wheelchair users, some paralysed from the neck down, to self-transfer from their electric wheelchairs to wet chairs, hoists, as the current equipment does not enable easy access for a marginalised group of our residents, and they cannot even spectate as the toilet facilities are also limited. My question is to the leader, please can the leader outline any recent or planned investments made by Fusion at Clements Hall, especially any facilities for disabled users? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Gooding. Councillor Webb, would you please respond to that question?
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
That's better.
Thanks. So, Chairman, during the pandemic, the Council supported its leisure provider to protect local jobs and to secure future investment in our leisure facilities. The Council was forward-thinking, recognising that once we emerge from the pandemic, access to high-quality local leisure facilities would be even more vital to support the physical and mental well-being of our residents. I personally did not want to see our leisure facilities remain shut, and I am pleased that, as a Council, we were able to open them again. Chairman, I am pleased to confirm that Fusion Lifestyle earlier this year invested in new state-of-the-art gym equipment, spin bikes, the sauna and a new studio floor at Clements Hall Leisure Centre. Having used this equipment myself, I am pleased to say that it rivals anything that the more expensive private sector competitors can offer. Additional investment is also made by Fusion in the plant room to service the swimming pools. The main sports hall floor is also due to be replaced by the end of 2022, which is a significant undertaking and will benefit all users of the main hall. Additionally, Fusion have invested in Rayleigh Leisure Centre, which also has a brand new gym. This gym equipment at both sites is accessible as part of the strategy to offer an inclusive leisure service. This investment totals nearly £1 million, approximately £600,000 at Clements Hall Leisure Centre and £300,000 at Rayleigh Leisure Centre, and is a clear demonstration of the Council's commitment to the health and well-being of our residents. Recent questions have been asked by Dementia Care to consider implementing at Clements Hall and Rayleigh Leisure Centre signage for dementia clients to make a positive impact when visiting the swimming pool area, and the centre has also been asked to look at the colour of the flooring. I'm pleased to say that Fusion have responded positively to this and that they will be looking to get some new signage up immediately to meet this local need. In terms of the wider question, Councillor Michael Hoy has also raised this with me and brought the work of changing places to my attention. We will be looking at how best to adapt the wet side changing rooms to accommodate users with limited mobility. However, this will require significant investment and is more likely to be achieved when we go out to the market to re-procure the leisure contracts and ask providers, whoever they may be, to make substantial investment in our leisure centres as part of their proposals as how they would possibly redesign the leisure wet side changing areas to incorporate those with limited mobility. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Mrs Goodin, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Lorman, can you please read out your question to the Leader?
Thank you, Chairman. Quite simple. To the Leader, please, I welcome the fact that Mill Hall in Rayleigh has reopened, but can the Leader please give an insight into his vision and also reassurance on the sustainability for this important community facility?
Thank you, Councillor Lorman. Councillor Wootton, would you please respond to the question?
Chairman, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Lorman, for your question, and I'm pleased to be able to respond. Until recently, the Mill Hall was part of the Council's asset delivery programme. The commercial case for the ADP continues to be strong, but with the Mill Hall, I accept that there was very strong community resistance to the Council's proposals, and any plans to redevelop the wider site will not now happen. Because of its community value, it was appropriate to separate this building from the ADP and give a focus on how it can operate cost effectively. Structurally, I'm assured that this building is sound, which is good news for all of us sitting in here tonight. That said, the Mill Hall needs substantial capital investment, and the revenue costs of maintaining these premises are considerable. But Councillor Lorman, like you, I'm delighted that the Mill Hall has reopened, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the assets team for all the hard work that they have done to make this happen. It is pleasing that there has been early interest in hiring space both during the week and at weekends. The ongoing operation of this building will be a commercial challenge, but I am personally determined and committed to do my best to make it succeed. As for the vision, we are in the midst of reviewing the expressions of interest which recently came forward to use all or part of the premises for a broad range of events and leisure activities. Discussions are ongoing and it is too early to give an outcome. As for other possible uses, I would like to see it operated as a multi-use, truly community building where we have a Rochford District Council reception area for the public to visit, as well as some offices and meeting rooms. Perhaps a cafeteria, citizens advice working here, Essex Police, business facilities, NHS uses, etc., etc. Particularly, I would like to see us explore opportunities to showcase the wonderful tapestry which is currently in the foyer and promote the rich heritage of the Rayleigh and Rochford district and engage with Essex County Council to explore the possibilities for adult education. Any other ideas would be very gratefully received. As for sustainability, Chairman, where that is concerned, the phrase use it or lose it comes to mind. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Woodard. Councillor Lorman, do you have a supplementary question?
I have not, Chairman. I'm very happy with the reply.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Shaw, can you please read out your question to the Leader?
To the Leader, given concerns...
Can you move the microphone a little closer, please?
I'm sorry. Given concerns which have been widely reported in the media about finances in Thurrock Council, can the Leader please provide reassurance that there is a financial resilience within Rochford District Council? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Shaw. Councillor Wootton, would you please respond?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Councillor Mrs Shaw. Members will be well aware of the recent media reports concerning Thurrock Council's finances, and whilst it is not my position to comment on these specifically, I would like to provide reassurance to members on the financial resilience of Rochford District Council and the steps that myself and the Executive are taking to ensure this continues into the future. Firstly, I want to make it quite clear the excellent relationship between members of this administration and officers within Rochford District Council, which is totally open, transparent and tested through scrutiny and evidenced by long-standing reputation and outcomes of doing the best for residents and businesses within our community. Members should note that Rochford District Council has an excellent track record of delivering sound financial management over the past few years. As an authority, we have maintained a clean external audit opinion on the quality of our financial statements, as well as a positive opinion on the value for money services that we deliver as an authority. We have agreed a balanced budget each February and contained our spending within the budget year on year, without relying on any external borrowing and the consequence that brings with ongoing interest costs. Neither do we lend as an authority, thus avoiding the consequences of risk through possible default. Unlike some councils, rather than embark on potentially risky investment schemes, we continue to implement innovative ways of delivering better outcomes for our residents through initiatives such as our One Team partnership with Brentwood, our Connected Digital programme, improving productivity through effective process management, managing our assets by disposing of buildings, which are surplus to our needs or no longer fit for purpose, thus avoiding unnecessary costs, and our simpler council tax support scheme. In common with all local authorities, Rochford Council will face a challenging financial outlook over the coming year and beyond. To a large part, this is caused by factors outside of our direct control, notably the wider economic situation and high levels of inflation that we face currently. We are not immune to those factors. Whilst we hold sufficient reserves to enable us to weather any short-term shocks, and also continue to invest in our communities, it is nevertheless our responsibility as a council to face up to these financial challenges to ensure we can balance our books going forward. The Executive continues to consider all possible options for service delivery as we work on our medium-term financial strategy, and this will involve making some tough choices, but rest assured we will not take any decisions without a full consideration of any risks involved. However, ultimately, the greater risk is that if we take no action now, we will not be able to ensure the financial resilience of the Council in future. So it is incumbent on us all, especially this Conservative administration, to responsibly engage with this challenge proactively, and that colleagues is what we are committed to do. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Councillor Mrs Shaw, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Chairman. I'm content.
Councillor Mrs Carter, can you please read out your question to the Leader?
Chair, can you hear me? Yeah. Can the Leader please clarify the arrangements in place for Rochford District Council to work with the NHS to accommodate the NHS breast screening unit within the district, please?
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Carter. Councillor Wootton, would you please respond?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Mrs Carter, for your question, and before I answer it, can I take this opportunity to formally welcome you to the Conservative Group. In making your decision to walk the floor, you said that it is a pleasure to be part of a well-organised party and part of a group that conducts themselves in a professional and courteous manner. You also said that they have the best vision for the people in our community. A very warm welcome to you. Turning now to the answer to your question, Chairman, I met with colleagues in the NHS to reaffirm the Council's commitment to supporting the NHS breast screening programme in the district. We fully support the NHS breast screening unit's efforts to deliver a comprehensive screening programme across the district in the fight against breast cancer. Rochford District Council has been clear in its offer to the NHS for the unit to be placed on any council-owned site of the NHS's choosing, subject to the site meeting the NHS's accessibility and electrical supply requirements, free of charge. Currently, the unit is in our Southend Road car park in Hockley, offered free of charge, which has been in use by residents since May of this year. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Councillor Mrs Carter, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you.
Councillor Mr Newport, can you please read out your question to the Leader? Or stroke Deputy Leader, I should say.
Okay, I'll address my question to the Deputy Leader, as I think the Leader's had quite a lot of
Can you just move a little closer?
Oh, yep. Is that better?
That's better.
I'll address my question to the Deputy Leader, as I'm sure the Leader's answered quite a lot of questions already. And could the Deputy Leader please tell us how many full-time employees and part-time employee vacancies there currently are at Rochford District Council?
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Mrs Rowe, can you please respond?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Newport, for your question. Currently, against budget forecast, there are 20 vacancies, 17 full-time and 3 part-time. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mr Newport, do you have any supplementary question?
Yes, of course, Chairman. Thank you. In 2010, the Council published the Customer Charter, which makes a number of aims, 2 of which are answering telephone calls within 15 seconds and aiming to acknowledge emails from residents within 1 working day. Judging from the complaints from residents and from my own personal experience and that of other minority groups, these aims are very rarely met in our experience. Will this failure be addressed by the administration anytime soon by perhaps recruiting more staff?
Councillor Mrs Rowe, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. We will refer this to Jonathan Stevenson. Thank you.
Councillor Stevenson, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. With regard to your question, Councillor Newport, obviously the organisation has got total employees at the moment of 156. I know you're referring to 2010. Obviously, no members of staff would not want to answer a call or answer an email, but obviously we have got a reduced workforce since 2010. You've raised a good point around the customer charter, and I think it's something that we should pick up with regard to the one service review, looking at having joint teams. The intention was that is looking to have more resources across both councils overall. So very much on your point, that's something to definitely address that customer charter of 2010, and we'll have a look at that. Could you hear me on? Okay. I'll take the mic out. To answer your question, Councillor Newport, with regard to the customer charter in 2010, obviously I wasn't there now, but obviously was an ambition to answer calls in 15 seconds, and I'm sure it's still an ambition of officers. No one deliberately doesn't answer a call or responds to an email. The resource in 2010 is very different to what it is now. We've got currently 156 FTEs within the organisation. I haven't got the figure in front of me in 2010, but I'm sure it was a lot more than that figure. With the one team work we're looking to do, we'll look to review that customer charter and ensure that whatever customer charter we have for our staff, we can adhere to moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Cross, can you please read out your question to the portfolio holder for housing, assets and leisure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We acknowledge that the recommissioning and 6-month appraisal of the potential for the Mill Hall Arts and Events Centre is underway, and some aesthetic improvements have been completed. Will the portfolio holder for housing, assets and leisure tell the council the outline plans for the next phase of the refurbishment, in particular the scoping, the assessment and the costings? Thank you.
Councillor Webb, would you like to respond?
Councillor Cross, for your question. Chairman, I'm delighted to see the improvements completed recently to the Mill Hall. Members will hopefully noted the new carpet, decorations to the reception area and main hall, as well as the external render to the front of the building also being redecorated. The main hall floor has been sanded and polished. We have also installed a hearing loop, which I'm told is working extremely well. I would also encourage members to view the Rochford District Heritage Tapestry in the reception area. I had a look at it earlier and it's an exceptional piece of work. I'm delighted to see many groups that used the hall before the pandemic are now returning, and that also new groups are booking the facility. I would like to thank Matt and the leisure team and asset team for their tireless work to reopen the building. I'm sure you'll agree that they have done a fantastic job in a very short space of time. In July, a report to the executive set out that the council would enter into a community expression of interest process, seeking expressions of interest from potential community partners. The process has been well received by the community, and I was pleased to meet with many groups and individuals as part of the process. A further report will come back before the executive in December, setting out the outcome of this process and the investment this council will make to the building to support its long-term sustainability. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Cross, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't hear too much in the way of budget allocation there, but in May 2021, the then Strategic Director of Rochford District Council, or Managing Director of Rochford District Council, indicated that the refurbishment costs of Mill Hall were likely to be in the region of up to £3.5 million. Now, that was well over a year ago. Building costs have increased substantially since then with inflation, etc., labour costs, etc. So what I'd like to know is there sufficient in the budget for from the council to allow for such refurbishments to take place? Thank you.
Councillor Webb, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. As I said, the report will be coming to the Executive in December, where we will outline the proposed refurbishment that will take place within this building. As you know, we're undertaking an expression of interest process that is going extremely well, and until that is completed, we won't actually know who's going to be coming into this building and the requirements that they would have for using it. So if I could ask Councillor Cross maybe to wait till December, and I look forward to receiving the full report, which I'll then share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Sharp, can you please read out your question to the portfolio holder for strategic planning?
Thank you, Chair. I think we all appreciate that the new local plan presents the council with
Can you
its
move the
biggest...
mic just a little closer, please?
Yeah. Sorry, is that better?
That's better.
I think we all appreciate that the new local plan presents the council with its biggest challenge. I'm given to understand that it's now 4.5 years since the previous consultation issues and options, but the Planning Policy Committee meetings appear to be few and far between. Will the portfolio holder commit to holding more regular all councillor briefings on the progress of the local plan?
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Councillor Ward, would you please respond?
Chairman, thank you. I would like to thank Councillor Sharp for his question. As he has alluded to, the fact that the local plan will be this council's biggest challenge, but it will also be this council's biggest opportunity for managed infrastructural growth and investment. I would like to correct Councillor Sharp regarding the latest consultation stage on the council's new local plan as not being 4.5 years ago, but rather 1 year ago. This stage was called the Spatials Options Stage, feedback from which has and will continue to be reported into the Planning Policy Committee. On the subject of member briefings on the local plan, these have been provided in a range of settings since this consultation ended, including at the Planning Policy Committee, together with member training sessions. I would particularly like to draw members' attention to the dedicated all-member briefing sessions held on the 23rd of June. Progress on the local plan will continue to be monitored through the Planning Policy Committee, and further member briefings will be held, including dedicated sessions such as that which took place on the 23rd of June. As and when there are key outcomes to report or where the council is approaching an important decision-making stage, a dedicated all-member briefing session will be initiated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Sharp, do you have a supplementary question?
I don't have a supplementary question, but I'd like to thank Councillor for his clarification and correction, and look forward to those further all councillor meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Sharp.
Councillor Constable, can you please read out your question to the portfolio holder for the environment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was pleased to hear that the council successfully...
Can you move the mic a little closer?
Closer still. Is that better? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was pleased to hear that the council successfully prosecuted an individual for a dark smoke offence recently, with a fine higher than any penalty for an offence of this kind before. Now that the litter strategy has been agreed and a contract with Norse is underway, can we expect Rochford District Council to take the same strong approach to fly tippers in the area?
Thank you, Councillor Constable. Councillor, Mrs. Berry, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Constable. The short answer is yes. Undertaking enforcement on fly tipping and littering is one of the key pillars of the new litter strategy, and to demonstrate that we will not tolerate this in any way across the district. However, as a council, we will always prosecute fly tippers where it is proportional and practical to do so, and we have previously prosecuted an individual for persistent fly tipping, with the successful prosecution finding him guilty, and he received a penalty of 200 hours of unpaid work through a 12-month community order. More commonly, a fixed penalty notice is issued, and so far we have issued 6 to date in 2022. At the moment, an early payment of these notices results in the fine being reduced by half to £200. I am proposing that this council sets a fine for fly tipping at the maximum figure of £400 that legislation will allow, but without any reduction for early payment, to send a clear message that this council is tough on fly tipping. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sperring. Councillor Constable, do you have a supplementary question?
I'm very pleased to hear that we are going to take a strong approach, and I'd like to see those figures of prosecutions increase in the future. Thank you.
Members, that is the end of the questions. We'll move now on to agenda item 11, motions on notice. Members, we have 2 motions on notice which will be taken in turn. The first is proposed by Councillor Mr Newport and seconded by Councillor Stanley. Councillor Mr Newport, would you like to introduce your motion on notice?
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to bring this motion forward. Some members may remember this motion as we previously did bring it forward, myself and the late Craig Cannell. So it's an important motion to us as a group. We know that the tradition of fireworks night brings great joy for many of our residents, but equally for many in what has become an extended fireworks period, it brings stress and anxiety. Military veterans, residents with autism, pets, animals, and those fleeing conflict from war-torn countries are often affected psychologically and, unfortunately, in some cases, physically. The motion that we propose to Council tonight does not seek to be a killjoy approach, but to support the whole community by taking positive actions to ensure that alternatives are made available for residents, such as that of silent fireworks and the details of public displays that will give residents prior notice of when large displays are to be held. It will give residents that enjoy fireworks an opportunity to make those informed choices, and those that do not wish to participate in this tradition a chance to take precautions to mitigate the risks. Members, I urge you to support this motion tonight, to support making our community safer, fairer and a better place for all that live here. And if I may, Chairman, just make one small change to the wording of the motion, 11.2. If I could just change the wording from ensure all to encourage all public firework displays. It's just a very small change, as a colleague helpfully pointed that out to me earlier. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Stanley, can you confirm you're seconding the motion and the amendment? Sorry, I can't see you from here.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mr Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Are we speaking to the amendment first? Chairman, are we speaking to the amendment first?
Yes, it would be to the amendment first.
Okay, can I come in after that amendment's been discussed,
Certainly.
please? Thank you.
Members, does anybody wish to speak on the amendment? Councillor Ward.
Thank you. I find the change encouraging. You said a small change, that's a massive change. Legally, massive change to encourage as opposed to ensure. And I would support that totally. Thank you.
Any others? Councillor Mr Newport, would you just like to repeat your amendment and then we'll put it to the vote?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, 11.2, I'd just like to change the wording from ensure all to encourage all public firework displays.
Thank you. Members, that amendment is before you. Those in favour? Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Members, that now becomes part of the substantive motion. Councillor Williams, do you wish to speak on that?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So is it working? Yeah, I think it's working.
Councillor Williams, it may be easier if you hold the mic up.
Multitasking. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank the councillors, Councillor Newport and Stanley. Thank you very much. Members, Rochford District Council is usually provided with a list by Essex County Council of licensed fireworks sellers in the area. These are regulated by Essex County Council, not Rochford District Council locally. We are unable to enforce a requirement on event organisers to advertise firework events when it is on private land. We can only influence events that are held on council land. Officers ensure that these are advertised on the Rochford Council website to make local residents aware of such events. Some event organisers do complete event management plans for scrutiny by the Safety Advisory Group, known as SAGs. Therefore, officers can ensure those are also advertised. But there will be some events, such as schools, etc., that the council will not be aware of the event. In relation to the RSPCA campaign, we can, as a council, support their campaign and pledge to lobby the government, but as they state, private events are outside our control. I fully support the sentiments and have sympathy with this motion, but see little point in formalising a motion that its actions we are unable to enforce or already do so. I therefore propose that its contents be amended to be noted and that government be lobbied regarding the points raised. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Williams, do you have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Shaw, I think your hand was up first.
Chairman, I will second it. Thank you.
Members, we'll now take the amendment. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the Cabinet member missed speaking to the amendment, which clearly stated that we would be encouraging rather than ensuring, which does put a little bit of different perspective on the motion. So it isn't. I understand what the portfolio holder is saying, that we cannot legally obligate anyone to advertise the event, but this motion seeks to encourage our residents and organisers of big events to notify the council. So I don't feel that the portfolio holder was actually speaking to the amendment and perhaps rather speaking to the original motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Newport. I believe that this was only to be noted anyway, but yes, I fully agree with that. Thank you.
Any other members wish to speak? Can I just take some advice on this? Is just to be noted or do I need a vote? Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to ask if that motion should be noted and no vote should be put on that, as it is what's already been said by Councillor Newport. Thank you.
We need to take the amendment that Councillor Williams has suggested. Councillor Williams, would you like to please repeat your amendment?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll repeat.
Hang on a second, Councillor Williams. Have you already covered that? Yes. You did that. You've done that. Councillor Williams. Okay. Okay, Councillor Williams, sorry to interrupt you there. Can you please reiterate your amendment?
Well, yes, thank you, Chairman. I therefore propose that its contents be amended to be noted and that government be lobbied regarding the points raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. You okay with that? Members, I need a show of hands on that. Could I please have a show of those in favour? Thank you, members. Those against? Okay, thank you, members. Any abstentions? Okay. Okay, members, that's 22-4. 14 against and 1 abstention. That's a substantial motion, which we'll note. Okay, members, that now becomes the... Councillor Mr Newport.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just have some clarity as to what's just happened? Because Councillor Williams actually took that back, what he originally said, and now we've just voted on it. It's a little bit confusing as to what's happened.
Councillor Mr Newport, that was a motion, an amendment that was put forward and was seconded, and we had to take a vote on that. Okay, thank you. Members, the substantive motion now just becomes to be noted. Can I ask members, is that duly noted? Thank you, members. Councillor Newport.
Could you record my name in the minutes as against that being noted? Thank you.
Okay, certainly will. Okay, members, the second motion, members, the second motion on notice, which has been proposed by Councillor Squires, Mrs Squires-Coleman, and seconded by Councillor Williams. Councillor Mrs Squires-Coleman, can you please introduce your motion on notice?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to refer
Can you hold it just a little closer? That's it.
Yes, sure. I'd like to refer you to the motion in front of you, Warm Spaces. As we are all aware, there is a cost of living crisis in the UK resulting in unprecedented pressures on residents, many of whom are already in poverty. And this winter, despite the support given by the government, hundreds, if not thousands of Rochford residents will be forced to make tough decisions about when and if they can afford to heat their homes. Charities have warned that low-income families and individuals are already being forced to choose between falling behind on bills, going without essentials, or taking on expensive debt. Until more is done by the government, it seems inevitable that the RDC will need to think about doing more to help its residents. Warm spaces are heated, safe spaces where residents are invited to join a regular, inclusive, community-run event. They are given the opportunity to get and stay warm and to talk to each other over a hot drink and maybe a snack. There might also be opportunities to receive practical tips and advice on saving energy costs and keeping safe and warm at home, how to alleviate food and fuel poverty. Warm spaces are not, nor should ever be, a permanent solution to cost of living pressures, but under the current circumstances and until the economic outlook improves or further measures are put into place by government, we should be showing our commitment to help our residents access the essential and basic requirements of warmth. To this end, this motion proposes that RDC will create a directory of all organisations providing warm spaces for our residents. Organisations that register are added to the directory, which could be advertised through RDC. It is also proposed that the Council operates a grant funding process, setting aside a fund of £5,000 from the Council's General Fund account, which would award up to £500 to successful applicants. In putting forward this motion, I'd just like to say how grateful I am to Councillor Williams for seconding this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Williams, I believe you're seconding this motion?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. May I speak on the motion?
Yes, please do.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, thank you, Councillor Mrs Squires-Coleman, for this. It's always good to receive a motion that positively affects our residents. I have no hesitation in seconding this motion. As the cost of living crisis begins its grip on the county, many of our residents and businesses in Rochford will need to adapt and in some cases make difficult decisions. We are committed to deliver on our commitment to support, promote, develop and enable Rochford District voluntary sector in providing effective services that meet the needs of our residents and businesses. This has never been so vital given the challenges ahead. We are focused on working with our partners locally, county-wide and nationally to make sure that the support and guidance is readily available when and where residents and businesses need it. The Council has launched a dedicated webpage to provide information, guidance and signposting for anyone needing advice on where to get support. The Council's response centres around 5 themes: support with money and bills, support with food and essentials, support with wellbeing, go green, energy efficient, support with work. An action plan has also been developed to ensure that there is a whole system approach to provide the much needed support for our staff, residents and businesses to be able to respond to the cost of living issues they may face. Warm spaces or winter warmth and welcome spaces are being developed across the county, and a mapping exercise is being undertaken by Essex County Council. They have also just released their new Community Winter Warmth and Welcome Spaces Fund. They have allocated £100,000, which offers grants of up to £1,000 so organisations can create new spaces or activities or extend their existing services. The fund is open to all charities, clubs or associations, community interest companies and towns and parish councils. We are supporting this locally and have worked with RAVs to identify opportunities within our district, which is why I'm happy to second the Councillor Squires Coleman's motion to continue our efforts and provide additional support for any organisations wishing to create or extend their existing service provision. As Councillor Mrs Squires Coleman said, the motion proposes that this council operates a similar grant funding process, setting aside a fund of £5,000 from the council's general fund account,
which would award up to £500 to successful applicants. So thank you, members. Thank you.
Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think we need reminding who's caused this problem. And I really do hope that all those in desperate need know how to use the internet, because it seems as if this council's imagination extends to a council webpage. So it's quite disappointing, the response, I feel, personally. But however, I do support the principle of the councillor's motion, and I do think that we should be offering as much help as is practically possible. However, I would like to propose an amendment to the motion on page 11.3, and the amendment I would like to make, and I don't know if anyone wants to take this down because it's quite a long amendment. Following the example of many other district councils, it's proposed by this motion that the option of offering grants to voluntary organisations, registered charities, unincorporated clubs, associations and small community groups, community interest companies and parish and town councils to help with costs is established by the council. A small grant scheme will supplement any potential funding from Essex County Council. I feel that brings it in line with what the Essex County Council are offering and what groups, to make the application process less confusing for applicants, so that we get a wider application. RDC will, another change would be RDC will provide grants in line with the guidance issued by the EALC for the Community and Winter Warmth and Welcome Fund, because that spells out quite clearly what the fund can be used for and can't be used for. And I think that if that was adopted by this council, it would make this a lot quicker process. Thank you.
Hang on a second, Joe.
May I suggest something? We can ask for it and take a photo of it.
Councillor Newport, do you have a copy of what you've just proposed? It's been a little difficult for officers to write that down as quickly as you spoke it. Do you have a written copy of it?
A training course on shorthand, Chairman, perhaps?
Well, yeah, it's not going to happen in the next 2 minutes.
I can absolutely email it to officers if they so wish.
Please.
Councillor Newport, if you could kindly bring it up, our officer will take a photograph of it.
Of course, Madam Vice Chair.
No.
One thing at a time, members. Bear with us for a moment, members. Okay, thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Mrs Mason.
Can I just wait for clarity if we're speaking to an amendment or the full motion? Because I think we're in another situation where the process seems to be a little confused. Thank you.
Yes, we will make sure that the whole thing is repeated, Councillor Newport has proposed. Councillor Mrs Belton.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm alone, but I didn't understand half of what was just put forward there. There was an awful lot of information about rules, legislation, guidance that a lot of us maybe haven't seen, and possibly would have been helpful to have that in advance. It's my understanding that the councillors have done a lot of work on this motion with the proposal, and if we're going to vote on anything, I think it's fair that we understand what we're voting on. Thank you.
For clarity, I think we actually need to have a seconder for the motion that Councillor Newport's put forward.
I should like to second that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, you indicated.
Chairman, I'd sort of reiterate Councillor Belton's comment. We've been asked to vote.
Sorry, Councillor Foster, mic a little closer, please.
I'd sort of reiterate Councillor Belton's comments in the sense that we've been asked to vote on EALC guidance, and I've got no idea what that is.
Okay, any other members wish to speak? Councillor Newport.
Just for clarity for some members who maybe haven't read up on the Winter Warmth and Welcome Spaces Fund, and the motion does reference the Essex County Council support given, and Essex County Council actually delegated to the EALC to administer the fund that's available. So that's where the information would be, and it is in the motion about Essex County Council providing support.
Cool. Councillor Mrs Mason.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm equally confused by this amendment, Councillor Belton. I really don't know why we're being asked this, because it seems to overcomplicate, which is a very simple, a very straightforward and a very hard worked, with a lot of assistance from both officers and Councillor John Mason. But we have a motion that is put forward that I think everyone understood. I think we're now in a state of confusion. So I don't know what to do, to be honest. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak on the amendments? Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to endorse exactly those points. We seem to be in a situation where we're confusing unnecessarily the confused. I'm totally confused. We've got proposals in front of us on something that some of us haven't read about. And I'm really quite disappointed because this is a very good motion that we're proposing, is being proposed. I applaud Councillor Mrs Squires-Coleman for bringing it forward, and I also applaud Rochford District residents for working with us as a group to actually bring it forward. The sentiments of it are extremely clear, and I'm delighted to support the £5,000. I think, judging by the last motion, we're in a danger of going down a route of confusion, and I really would prefer us not to go down that route, Chairman. Thank you.
No, that's right. Councillor Newport, we'll now take this to the vote. Would you please just reiterate your amended motion?
Chairman, it was never my intention to muddy the water, if you like. It was merely that the motion was very limited to voluntary organisations. What I have intended to do was widen that to clubs and associations and community groups. So if you want me to read out the amendment again, I'm quite happy to do that.
Yes, if you could, and if you could make it clear so members have got a good understanding of what that is, and then we'll take the vote.
Okay, so unfortunately, I can't get both of them up on the screen at the same time. But so my amendment was, following the example of many other district councils, it is proposed by this motion that the option of offering grants to voluntary organisations, and then I've added in registered charities, unincorporated clubs, associations and small community groups, community interest companies and parish and town councils. That's the part that's been put in, so to widen the groups that this fund is available to help with costs. To help with the costs is established by the council. A small grant scheme will supplement any potential funding from Essex County Council. Then the other line is RDC will provide grants in line with the guidance issued by the EALC, which is the guidance provided by Essex County Council, for the Community and Winter Warmth and Welcome Fund. To make the criteria quite clear, it's already set.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Mrs Mason, very quickly before we put this to the vote.
I'll try and be quick. I think if Councillor Newport had limited his amendment to registered charities, clubs, etc., we would have understood it. But I think the rest of it is unhelpful. And so I won't be supporting the amendment. Thank you.
Okay. Members, we now put this to the vote. Those in favour of the amendment, please signify. Those against? Thank you, members. Any abstentions? Okay. Okay, members, that's 9 for, 25 against, and 3 abstentions. That amendment to the motion is lost. Okay. Councillor Mrs Squires-Coleman, we now move back to the original motion. Would you now please summarise that motion, which I believe is on page 11.3. If you could just read that out, just to clarify so members have got full understanding. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. So the proposed motion is that RDC will create a directory of all organisations providing warm spaces for our residents. Organisations that register are added to this directory, which could be advertised through RDC. It is also proposed that the Council operate a grant funding process, setting aside a fund of £5,000 from the Council's General Fund account, which would award up to £500 to successful applicants. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, just to confirm, you're still happy to second that? Okay, members, we now put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's, sorry, I couldn't hear.
Got to do against and
Right. Those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Members, that's 36 for, none against, and 1 abstention. That motion is carried. Members, that concludes the business for this meeting. The meeting I close, my watch says 9 o'clock. So thank you, members. Thank you for your time. Thank you.